tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Sorry, Martha, we're gonna have to restart real quick, okay?
You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
So good. This is like an extra epic start to this episode, though I feel anytime you start with any sort of like John Williams score, you've got a nice epic beginning to your show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Star Wars Rebels After Show, Season 2, Episode 10, A Princess of Lothal. If you guys have not done so already, please be sure to go on over to iTunes, subscribe to us there. You can listen on iTunes. If you're listening on iTunes, make sure you head over to YouTube where you can actually watch our beautiful faces discuss how much we love Star Wars. And give us a thumbs up, leave us comments, let us know what you like. We are following along with the live chat this evening, as well as checking the hashtag ABTV Rebels so you guys can get in on the conversation. I am Emma Fyffe, your host. You can follow me all over the internet at Emma Fyffe, which is my name, and I am joined by a fabulous panel of ladies, as always, Megan Salinas.
Hey guys, you guys can tweet at me at the Mengman, that's TheMenguin.
And Katie Cullen.
You can find me on Twitter at Kiaxet, that's Kiaxet.
And a super awesome guest star joining us this evening, it is Mr. James Arnold Taylor.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, it's, it's really cool to have a show about Star Wars with so many lovely ladies talking instead of just a bunch of guys nerding out on all of the fun of Star Wars. Because, more, I would say it's 50, Ashley Eckstein, of course, Ahsoka Tano, made it very clear in public that 50% of fans of Star Wars are women.
Absolutely.
And so this is great.
Absolutely. And Dave Filoni has said that, when they were sort of adding more characters to the season, part of the reason that they went with the seventh sister being the new villain that they introduced, of course, who's voiced by the wonderful Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Which I thought she was going to be Princess Leia. That's what they had been saying. Okay.
Yeah, I was curious what she was going to be when they initially announced that she was going to be part of the show.
She makes an excellent Inquisitor.
She really does.
They have her at Disneyland now, and
Yes.
it's terrifying. Oh my God, the
Yeah.
canned dialogue that they have for that is just...
Wow.
Maybe some of your friends will live. Oh, okay, you're fighting a 5-year-old, sweetheart.
Yeah.
She was Buffy for too long.
Now
exactly. She's ready to be on the other side.
It's true. It's like she's taking out all those years of being a good guy into her performance as the seventh sister. Yes. So basically, the big thing in the episode tonight, as we all saw from the preview for this latter half of the second season, was that Princess Leia is in this episode.
Yay!
I'm trying to figure out how old we think she is.
That's what I was trying to figure out as well, because, we talked about it on the show before that we all kind of assumed that she was approximately around the same age as Ezra, but she seemed a little older.
Yeah.
She seemed like 17 to me.
The problem...
At times she seemed about 35 to me. She was very, just taking control.
She gets it.
The problem is that the show takes place several years before A New Hope.
Right.
But where we see her in the show, at least in this episode, she looks like she just stepped out of A New Hope.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
It
agree.
seemed she seemed very adult and very much that
I feel like she
princess
should be
role.
young and scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was, though obviously I absolutely loved having her in this episode, and I loved how in control of everything she was, and that, she was the one who had concocted the plan to get the extra ships. But I agree that she did come across as a little too mature.
Yeah.
I feel like she's been an angry adult for most of her life. And so that this was, I thought it was great.
She's one of those children that doesn't like children. It's like we've got things to do.
Yeah.
Well, we've had friends like that.
Sure. I think I was one of those.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Dakota Fanning show that Amy Poehler used to do on SNL.
Wow. So and you know, I have to say this character Ryder as well, voiced by Clancy Brown. Anybody know who Clancy,
of
of course,
course,
voiced
yeah.
in Clone Wars was Savage
Yes.
Opress. And Clancy is a huge Star Wars fan, so I know he's geeking out being in again and getting to play this character. But that character was very pivotal in this. You know,
Yeah, he was.
You do kind of wonder at times, you know, which way is he going to fall on this whole thing, and for him to end up at the end really going with them and deciding that, I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, I was very interested in that character as soon as we were introduced to him. You know, we got a good sort of backstory from him in the last episode
Right.
with his connection to Ezra's parents. But yeah, it's been really nice to see all of these other people, because I feel like that's what's happening a lot in this season. Is it's kind of we're reaching out to the galaxy and finding that we have more support than we think we do.
Well, yeah, because our entire first season was these 6 people
Yeah.
on a ship and the occasional cameo or whomever
Right.
coming in. So
They
getting
really
into
had
the
to
larger spread of things is really nice.
Get people to see who these characters were, get them to like them. And we talked a lot about that, this event we do, Star Wars Weekends at Disney. This last year, we got to really kind of talk about how this year, spoke about with Taylor and Steve Bloom and Vanessa and Tia, everybody that was guests there, how we're going to see that. That's going to be a theme throughout this season where you're going to get to play with other characters, see some familiar faces and some new faces, but really get to expand their universe and learn about their families. And so it's very cool that they're doing that now because it's important with these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with this following up a show like Clone Wars, which was so
Wonderful.
far-reaching.
Yes.
It was wonderful. Yes, if any of you guys don't know, James did the voice of numerous characters in Clone Wars, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, being
Master Plo Koon. And you know, and let me say, because people have been asking since that season 2 trailer came out, everybody keeps asking, "Oh, was that you doing a Plo Koon type voice?" It wasn't me. It's somebody else doing an impression of me. And, but yeah, it wasn't me. It wasn't Plo Koon. So just get that out there right now.
Perfect.
But
Great.
to all the folks that have been appreciative of that, I'm appreciative of them and thank for thinking of me. But nonetheless, it wasn't me.
Yeah. Now, I can't help but feel like there's almost a little bit of a parallel here, because for Julie Dolan, who is coming in doing the voice of Leia, she's voicing a very well-known character. Now, when you came into Clone Wars, did you feel any sort of like pressure? Because for me, Obi-Wan, hands down, was my favorite character from the prequels.
The prequels, yeah. I mean, you have to. I mean, that's the greatest thing. I really had it easy in that Ewan McGregor did such a fantastic job establishing this character as one that we already loved as old Ben. How do you do that and take it? And
exactly.
He took it to new levels.
Yeah.
So it was a great honor to get to do it, but it was also a lot of pressure. And so, yeah, anytime you walk in, I remember the first year when Rebels was. Nobody knew what it was 2 years ago, and I was hosting these events, and I was saying to them, "Welcome to the family." They didn't know, any of them what they were in for, because the fans of Star Wars are the best fans in the world. They really are, and they are so dedicated to the stories and to the characters and to knowing them, but to showing a lot of love for all of us. So I'm sure she'll receive all sorts of a warm welcome into the world of Star Wars, and it's a wild ride though for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first few conventions, you see their heads spinning.
little overwhelming.
Yeah.
It can be, absolutely. I mean, the first time, at Celebration this last summer, when we had I hosted the Rebels crew on the main stage, and it was packed. It was 5,000 people in that stadium, and they went nuts for them, and they didn't know what to do with it. I mean that in the best way. Like, they were like, "This is so cool. You like me." But it's because there's a whole new world there, and it's like what Clone Wars did. It allowed people to watch the show with their family and their kids and introduce Star Wars to them. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think probably my favorite part of the Rebels panel from Star Wars Celebration was just seeing the people on stage pull out their phones and take
pictures.
reactions.
My favorite part was you guys sitting down on the stage to watch the trailer. It's family movie night.
And I'm not gonna try to take credit. Well, I will take credit. No, I said, well, come on, let's because they were all so kind of like. they're nervous about it. So it's like, let's have
absolutely.
fun. Come on, guys, and let's just watch this thing like everybody else, because that's what they all wanted to do.
Right.
They all wanted to sit down and, boy, sitting on that stage, the rumble of that. And when you heard D. Bradley Baker's voice, come on, my name is Rex.
Yes.
5,000 people went insane, and it was so great. So, again, God bless the Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And this show, where is this going to take us then, ladies? Where
Yeah.
do you think we're going to go throughout this season with what we've seen tonight?
With what we've
To
seen
hell and
tonight.
back. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding.
Well,
we have that fight coming down the pipeline.
Well, yes, I mean, and based on the sort of trailer for the latter half of the season, it looks like things are going to be a little dark. Which,
And the sun is slightly warm.
yeah, and because I mean, obviously, it looks from the trailers like we're going to lead up to a showdown between.
Should we go ahead and give like a spoiler alert for anybody who
Yeah,
hasn't seen
if you guys-
the
the
trailer?
We haven't
trailer's
seen the
been out for
trailer.
a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, some people have avoided it because it blatantly has spoilers.
Should
Yeah.
we save this
That-
for
that's
predictions
fair
then,
enough.
so they don't have to go and come back?
I just think
Okay.
I feel like we're in it. We might as well discuss it. But yeah, if you haven't watched the second half of the season trailer, it's great, but it definitely gives some pretty hard-hitting hints.
It's really fascinating to see that, because it is literally almost 10 years in the making for what you see in that trailer.
Yeah.
I remember very vividly having lunch with Dave Filoni and D. Bradley Baker up at Skywalker
Right.
in the commissary, and Dave was laying out his vision of these characters
Yeah.
that we're kind of not talking about. And what their initial showdown would be in his
Yeah.
head when we ended Clone Wars. And so
Oh.
he's able to take a lot of these things now and put them into play here.
into Rebels,
As we've seen,
yeah.
And so this is definitely something from the mind of Dave Filoni.
I think it was such a smart choice to bring Ahsoka back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't leave that open. I mean, at this point, Ahsoka's like basically the one super major. She's the one character who's interacted with like every major character
Yeah.
from the prequels, but doesn't actually ever appear in any of the films.
Yeah. She could have her own like Agent Carter
She
type show.
totally
You know what
could.
I mean?
I
It
would
be
watch.
a spin-off. Yeah.
I would watch that TV
I would
program. Oh, my God.
Absolutely
I
I
watch
know
that.
Ashley would be very happy if that happened.
Can we start a petition? Hey, Disney.
Honestly, how cool of a show would that be? Though?
Yeah.
Just her, what's happening when she's not at Rebels, and she's
Yeah, and her time leading up to where we get her
Exactly.
in Rebels.
Sign me up.
One of my favorite things. When we were at the premiere, I
Right,
asked, where has Ahsoka been on this time in your mind? Where
Yeah.
is it? She's like off having adventures and leading the
Yeah.
rebellion, and that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is accurate, just sort of based on where we left Ahsoka at the end of Clone Wars, and then we see her show up here, and she's clearly like learned to survive out there on her own.
She was an essential part in Clone Wars. She was my favorite character
Yeah.
on the show. Not just because Ashley is an amazing actress and she took so much and did so much with it, but because that character was us.
Yeah.
She was the
Yeah,
the viewer.
absolutely.
And so that's why she's so important to being in Rebels, is
Yeah.
because that part of us that connects with that, but also connects with the prequels, connects
Yeah.
with the 4, 5, and 6, everything there. Even though she wasn't in them, she's all of us.
Yeah, she's a
yeah.
presence that's always there. Yeah, it's interesting, because we do this show when Force Awakens came out, all these people, are
What's the Force Awakens? What's that?
it was a little indie film, limited
okay.
release.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It is kind of funny with how vague all of the Force Awakens trailers are. Then to get the Star Wars Rebels trailer,
super,
for the,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
super spoilery.
Super clear.
You wonder if it wouldn't have been that way. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was
no,
gonna say,
sorry.
if the film hadn't already come out, So,
Yeah. That's true, because I mean, you definitely in there you see some stuff straight out of
Some
Force
parallels,
Awakens.
yeah.
And granted, as Katie pointed out as we were sort of chatting before the show started, the crossguard lightsaber
Yeah.
is based on an old design, but I think that if we hadn't had it in Force Awakens, we probably wouldn't see it in Rebels.
No.
Oh,
But
no, I mean, the lore for that is that it is a very old design from the Knights of Ren.
Right.
Like, there is a lot of lore built in there, and so them bringing it up, it's like, no, they built that.
Right.
It works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm excited. I like seeing. This is something I think Star Wars does extremely well, where you see stuff happening in the movies carrying over into the shows, into the comics, et cetera, and so forth.
Yeah, it's
So.
a strange comment. You never would have thought 15 years ago you'd be able to say from the shows and the movie.
Exactly, I know. Yeah, it's just grown into something so exponentially large. But no, what I was saying in regards to when Force Awakens came out, because we were doing this show, we had a lot of fans of the show tweeting at us, going, "Oh, these are all my theories about how Rebels is gonna connect to Force Awakens." And I said, the one thing I said, I can't remember who I tweeted it to, so please tell me who it was. I said the one thing that I would really love is Luke Skywalker's great, but I would love it if Ahsoka Tano were still alive and was going to be Rey's master.
It is interesting, to see how people have accepted this character now into the world where they did not think when we first debuted the movie, the Clone Wars movie, people were like, "Oh, who's this character?" And by the end of it, you're like, "Oh, she's."
I know.
I feel like at that point you just cue up Adele. We could have had it all. Just like
kind of like just since we're talking about the Force Awakens a little bit, coming back, and because we've been off of Rebels for a couple weeks now.
I know.
Coming back into this episode, I actually it was a really great, fun episode, but there were certain scenes with Princess Leia where my heart sank a little bit.
Because you know what's coming for her.
Well, not only do you know what's coming, but this fight that she's in never ends.
No.
We get to the Force Awakens and she's doing what she's been doing since she was a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point.
And on the one hand, that shows how awesome and badass she is. On the other hand, it's this is a never-ending fight.
Yeah.
It will never stop.
Well, think about it. There have been wars going on since we were kids that are still happening. Yeah. So it's not unheard of for this to continue years into the future. We have a lot of... We had a war go on for 100 years between France and Britain. I mean, this is not unheard of, especially since it's on a galactic scale.
Yeah.
and knowing Carrie Fisher too, it's like she, it's also somewhat what her life has been. She's been in show business from day one, and it's been this kind of never-ending battle. And every time I think I'm out, they pull it back up. It's the same thing, with this character, Princess Leia. It's a great analysis of it too. Yeah, it's very sad on one hand. It is.
It is. But I liked the quote that she had, which was, I feel like because I can fight, I have to for those who cannot.
Can't. Yeah.
So it's simultaneously disheartening, but at the same time inspiring too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's getting to see her before she was kind of just this angry princess captured by Darth Vader in A New Hope. Yeah. That maybe, by that point, what happens between what we've just seen and what happens there, she's like, okay, remember what I said in Rebels? I'm just mad. I just want to beat these guys.
I feel like she was still fairly angry in this episode.
Yes,
I think that's her... If you've seen Inside Out, that's the emotion that's running the console.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the Leia that we saw in this episode was very reminiscent of New Hope Leia.
Oh, yeah.
They certainly made a point to make it that way.
Yeah, which was extremely well done. I mean, and as I was saying a little bit, it was so nice to just get that Leia that we all think of and know and love just straight out of the gate.
It's another thing in here, I don't know if you thought about this, but another call to Force Awakens is we had a stormtrooper holding a lightsaber.
Oh yeah!
And battling with it, which, this was...
It was a blue lightsaber too!
Yeah.
I loved watching that because you're watching Kanan move like a stormtrooper, and the second the lightsaber comes out, his entire demeanor changes. Everything is different.
Yeah.
And it's just like flipping a switch. It was so great to watch.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of thought put into the animation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I really enjoyed that this episode was really just about all the rebels coming together to accomplish a thing.
Yeah. It's a big party.
Yeah.
It's like the lobby here.
Exactly.
Tell me how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Boy, if that was anyone else, that would have gone over like a lead balloon.
Yep.
I will say, this episode didn't necessarily go in the direction that I thought it was.
Okay.
Because as soon as they make their getaway, and they're still trying to figure out how to go about getting the ships. I thought what they were going to do was like a prisoner exchange thing. Be like, oh wait, I'm on the ship. They're supposed to be watching me. You could do like a hostage exchange thing.
Okay.
but that probably wouldn't have gone over smoothly. They probably would have gotten ambushed or something. But that's where I thought they were going.
Well, and I like that the way that the plan went down, it gave Ryder Azadi a chance to shine, since he had made the locks that they put on the ships when he was in prison.
The second he went, you keep doing this, I'm gonna go, I went, he's gonna die.
I
was fully expecting him to bite the dust.
Yeah.
And he didn't, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was just like,
so it's Clancy Brown.
I was a little worried about him for a minute.
Yeah, we generally suspect that a lot of these characters are ultimately doomed, so...
Yeah, it's in Star Wars, they never, cease to amaze me how they will just pluck off a character that you expect to be around for a while. Yeah, so now they have to kind of work against that probably at times, to where, you think this is going to happen, and we're not going to.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, today's a win.
At this point, I just fully expect everyone's going to die, so that way when they don't, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
But if Ahsoka makes it to the end of the season, man, I'm buying drinks for the penny, because that is not going to happen.
I can hear Dylan crying all the way from Colorado.
He's not in the chat, or he would be right now.
I know,
I'm sure.
And I liked in addition to, seeing Leia being large and in charge as she is wont to do all the time, it was nice to see her sort of trying to reach out to Ezra as well.
Yeah.
Because, Ezra obviously from the last episode was dealing with a lot of residual emotions because he just found out that his parents were dead. And I liked seeing him connect with Leia in a way that maybe, again, Katie, you pointed out, like, when Leia approached with, tell me how we're going to do this, that wouldn't have worked out if anybody else had said it. Yeah. But and it was cool too to see sort of the sensitivity of Leia when she was noticing everybody approaching Ezra, and she's like, what happened there? He seems really sad.
Yeah. And of course he got to give her the stun. She's always getting set for stun there.
I know.
Poor Leia. So by A New Hope, she's used to it, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
I think it's I think it was a nice moment too, because Ezra is very much our Luke parallel.
Totally,
too.
yeah.
So it was nice to have that moment between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to see Hera and Zeb get to come in and cause havoc.
You have to hit us that hard?
I know.
Said make it look convincing. Yeah. Like, you've been waiting for like a season and a half for this, haven't you?
Yeah. As soon as they told Zeb make it look convincing, I think we all had the same reaction. We're like, oh boy.
Oh, it is concussion o'clock.
He's a method actor.
Yeah.
They all are.
Yeah, exactly.
And Steve Bloom, the voice of...
everyone.
He was also the voice of almost every stormtrooper there.
There were like
It's
three that weren't Steve Bloom, and it was great.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah.
So now you have people on. I don't remember how this works. You have people commenting here. Do we answer any of those things, or do they just kind of talk, or what's the deal there?
There's a separate conversation going on in chat. For the most part, we are just making them sad that we're predicting everyone's going to die. Aside from that, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm checking the hashtag right now to see if there's any questions there. Billy Palahan asks on Twitter, if Leia is back, then you think we could see Luke in season 3?
I hope not.
I don't think so. We were talking about this just before the show, and like part of the whole point of A New Hope in that particular story is that it's Luke's hero's journey. He doesn't really his aunt and uncle kept him very sheltered prior to the beginning of the film. So
and he was initially going to join the Empire. He was going to go to their pilot school. Yeah. Like, that's what he really wanted to do. So if the rebellion had gotten to him, around him, anything like that, at any point before A New Hope, there's no reason for him to want to join the Empire. It would have set the ball in motion much earlier.
Yeah.
For A New Hope to stay intact, we just kind of have to keep him in the side pocket in isolation until we need him.
That's right. There's a certain Jedi watching over him, making certain that doesn't happen.
I was going to habit of hanging out in the side pocket until he's needed.
I was going to say, I feel like a big sort of theme too that people are asking with Rebels, particularly in regard to you, is Obi-Wan gonna come back?
Kenobi gonna come back? Yes.
I mean, you would have to do more of an Alec Guinness.
No.
He would also have to get off of Tatooine. Or we would have to go to Tatooine but not go to Luke, which
I don't know
is
how
weird.
many folks have read the John Jackson Miller book, Kenobi, which is a fantastic book, and it really covers what happens with Ben Kenobi on Tatooine during that time. And that is his job. His job is to stay on Tatooine. He cannot get involved. He needs to stay as far away from the Empire as possible because he doesn't want to know there's any Jedi around. So, it doesn't really make sense to bring him in outside of anything than what they've already done as the hologram, which was a great honor to get to do that. The message that we never got to see before. But I don't think that you're going to see him there unless they try to do a little tip of the hat as kind of like, oh, hey, how you doing?
And again, I think it would be, if we did see him, it would be a very brief situation wherein we could also possibly see Luke because we'd be on Tatooine.
Yeah, so. It's a tricky balance. We were talking about this before the show too, though, with this show in general, in that you have these two Jedis alive when there's really not supposed to be Jedis
exactly.
alive. So,
Jedi.
Yeah, see how I
scare quote Jedi.
Finger quote those, but
it's like the blind leading the blind.
I feel like it's almost essential to the storytelling that Obi-Wan and Luke never encounter these characters.
Or if they do encounter them, it has to be very much I can't.
However, the other thing is I would have said the same thing about Yoda, and they've managed to have him there, so,
That's true. They found a way to incorporate him.
That's true.
And he'll be coming back as well later on this season, too.
That's right. We got to actually see him.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did.
So we have a question in chat.
Okay.
Zeanorto, question for you guys. Do you think this old master is a certain Night Brother returned from the folds of darkness once more and potentially seducing one of our heroes? Do you think it's Darth Maul? That's what we're getting at.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That sounds
That's
like
why
do
he
you
called
think this is
himself
Darth Maul?
Xehanort. He's talking a lot.
I love Darth Maul as a character, so I would like to see him come back.
It wouldn't be the first time fans brought him back.
This is true.
Yeah, I remember very specifically when we were doing these episodes and we get word that George says, oh, and then Darth Maul's coming back.
And you're like, he is?
And Dave Filoni, that was conversations Dave shared with us, where they're talking and Dave's like, say what? And then the way he presented it, it made sense. And the way you did it, if after you watch those first few episodes of the Clone Wars, you go, oh, this absolutely makes sense. It works completely great, and he's a fantastic villain. And of course, I had so much fun doing those episodes with Sam, who's also the Emperor in Rebels. So yeah, he'd be around the studio if it's him. Who knows, right? But but that character is a fantastic villain. I think from the first time we see him in Phantom Menace, we go, why is this guy not going to be used more throughout all these movies? So now there's ways to do it. So if it was him, I don't think anybody would complain.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yep. And then just a comment in regards to the conversation that we were having about Leia and Ezra. Jasper on Twitter at JasperJackson28 says, Princess Leia was awesome and how she knows Ezra. It bridges the gap between Rebels and the original trilogy. Thank you, Star Wars.
Bridges.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one who picked up on that. Hey.
Now, James, obviously you're very heavily entrenched in the Star Wars universe at this point, and you actually mentioned something to me before the show that I want to talk about, which is that you actually are in Force Awakens.
Yes, I am. I got to do quite a few voices in the film. A lot of different aliens on Jakku. I'm several aliens on Jakku. I am some stormtroopers. I am some Imperials when all heck is breaking loose. You can hear in there. I'm so on Jakku when Finn is looking for water, and the first guy he goes up to, and the guy's, we need to die. And then when Rey is offered for BB-8s, the extra amount
60 portions.
Yeah, 60 portions. You hear the aliens back kind of going, "Is she nuts?" And that's wow. And then there's some little laughing little guys in the bar scene.
Right.
The little kind of puppety kind of ones. That's me.
Nice.
A lot of different voices there, and we all kindly Matthew Wood, the amazing sound designer of Clone Wars, Rebels, and all these fantastic things. Oscar-nominated sound designer and a great voice actor was kind enough to put myself, Matt Lanter, Sam Witwer, Catherine Tabor, Meredith Salinger, Dave Filoni. Tom Kane.
That's so great.
So all of us, David Collins, who also is a director in the world of Star Wars and a voice talent. So all of us are the background voices in there. So it's pretty great. There's some very... Matt Lanter is a very distinct clone trooper. Or clone, see what I did? Clone trooper. Too many years on Clone Wars. The one with the red leather that says, "Sir, we need to go back and get more troops."
Right.
That's Matt Lanter. Kat Tabor has a wonderful line right there as one of the gals saying, there's 7 minutes till the sun can be blown up. And
It's great. No, I mean, I think it just really parallels what you were saying earlier about, when the cast of Rebels started doing panels and conventions, and, you said to them, welcome to the family. And it seems that there is very much this family mentality.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was great. It's a wonderful little Easter egg for the fans of Clone Wars and even Rebels and such that, that appreciate what that show did to keep Star Wars kind of going. And the other thing is I still remind people of this, is Clone Wars is the last George Lucas Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's the last true stuff from the mind of George Lucas. And so for me, that's what made it so wonderful. And it was great to be able to kind of be in this as well. So a lot of fun, and we got our names in the credits. It was very kind. So
it's so awesome.
Yes. So from Clone Wars to that to hosting all the other things. I've been
I was going to say, and
fortunate.
you do a lot of other sort of Star Wars related events and things.
Yes, I've been kind of fortunate enough to be the host of all of the biggest Star Wars conventions on the planet. Yeah, from Star Wars weekends at Disney every year to Star Wars Celebration. We had the last two I got to host. I will not be hosting in Europe. Usually that's Warwick Davis that does the Europe
Oh, of
ones.
course, yeah.
I'm not certain if he is this year. I would assume he is. But it is a wonderful world. I got very fortunate. I've been the first to interview a lot of people. Ian McDermott, I got to interview him for the first time a couple years ago, and then he was kind enough to come back, and then also came to Star Wars weekends. And then we had Frank Oz. I got to spend a week with Frank Oz, and me and my buddy Matt Rowbottom, who's sitting here in the studio with us, got to go to dinner with Frank. And I do a one-man show at these events every year called Obi-Wan and Beyond, or Talking to Myself. And Frank Oz sat dead center, front row, and watched the show. Now you go, okay, that's enough pressure.
Right.
In the show, I do like 200 different voices of characters and things, and people that have influenced me, and I very specifically point out many of his characters because he is one of my all-time heroes.
Yeah.
And to get to spend 3 hours, in these segments interviewing him throughout the week was great. But then to have him sit there and watch me do his characters, I was like, oh, please. And he took me to dinner that night. We went to dinner with him, and he couldn't have been more gracious and so wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about Star Wars, is all these folks from, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. Carrie, I don't know if anybody saw the panel at Celebration, but she tackled me on stage. We had a little strange makeout session there. It was weird. And her dog was licking my head. It was very surreal. Carrie is fantastic. Mark was so great. Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams, Ray Park, all these folks. They're so wonderful because the only thing is none of us get to experience Star Wars the way everybody else does.
Yeah. You were mentioning that to me a little bit earlier, that now when you're so in the creation process,
you sometimes have to step back. Like when we did the voices for Force Awakens,
right.
We saw the film in October.
Right.
And so you go, well, gosh, how do I feel about that? I didn't know how I felt about that as a Star Wars fan. And then later you get to see it and you go, okay, here's all kind of is. But also I was so originally, if you've all seen the film,
yes.
There's that, she grabs the saber and there's that kind of
vision.
dream,
That
Force
dream sequence.
vision. I was the original voice of Obi-Wan in that.
Oh,
I
nice.
got to record all of it, and then they went to Ewan, and as you do, and they got Ewan to replace that, and then they took some of Alec Guinness, and so it's a little, but it took all 3 people that played Obi-Wan to actually have a part in that. So it was kind of cool.
That's really cool.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So we are running a little low on time.
Sorry,
aside from Star Wars, are you working on anything right now?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
is
you're
a
playing
fun show.
Yondu.
I play Yondu and Cosmo, the telepathic Cosmo.
Yes.
Cosmo is the best.
Cosmo is the best.
Oh my god.
And Cosmo is actually one of my favorites. And
Yeah, he's
Yondu's
great.
great. And it's a great show. I would love that show. Ratchet and Clank, the movie, is coming out in April of this year, and I'm very excited about that. You like that?
We've seen the trailer.
That's my nostalgia.
My favorite part about that trailer is, John Goodman, Paul Giamatti, Sylvester Stallone, Bella Thorne, Rosario Dawson. No James Arnold No David Kaye. No Armin Sherman. No Jim Ward.
Characters.
The main characters, yeah. But that's Hollywood's for you. But so the film is great. It's a kind of a throwback to the original, but if you don't know Ratchet and Clank, you'll learn about them. If you do know Ratchet and Clank, you will love it because it's a wonderful thing. And then the other thing I have is, hey, Matt, can you hand me one of those there? I brought each one of you my book.
What?
And so I wrote a book years back called JAT 365. It's 365 Daily Inspirations for the Pursuit of Your Dreams. And I wanted to give each of you a copy. And this is not just a shameless plug. It's because I like to make sure that people that I work with are inspired. So this is every day. It's set up like my social media because it's taken from my social media. And I challenged myself a while back to do a daily inspirational quote every day to my fans to keep them positive. So this is a collection of every one of them, and it's not calendar, it's numbered, so you can pick it up any time and set it down for a week and then come back to it and you pick up where you left off. But it asks you to read it, then you accept that and you check that off, you forward it, share it with somebody else, and then you put it into practice in your life, and then at the end there's a little question at the end and you write in that. So by the end of the year, you have a journal of your dreams and your goals. And hopefully you're inspired by it. So that's my little gift to you. And it's on Amazon.com. Again, it's not just the cheap plug. It's to actually say thank you. And my little gift for thank you for having me on.
I'm so excited.
I am so happy. It's so weird when you've done research on something to interview somebody and then you actually get to hold it in your hand.
And I'll sign them too later if you want.
Oh, that would be so great. Awesome.
But thank you for letting me plug all my stuff. JamesArnoldTaylor.com, Jat Actor, at Jat Actor on Twitter and on Instagram and all that stuff.
And you're still doing stuff for the Comlink, correct?
The Comlink, yeah. So we had a show called A Certain Point of View, and we did that. Matt Robot and myself and J.C. Reifenberg came together and did that show, and it's kind of been on hiatus. We recorded, there's at least, I think, another 5 episodes that we have that have not gone out. But they were all shot before Force Awakens, so I don't know how they'll play. We were having that discussion at dinner. But
time will tell.
So we'll see. But I'm actually starting my own thing. I just built a new studio. I'm in the process of building a new studio.
Oh yeah, I saw that on your Twitter.
Show on that's just going to be a fun talk show where people can call me up and ask questions, and I'll do bits, and I'll have friends on and whatever.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
good times.
Yeah,
good times indeed.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
You were.
It was wonderful.
You were great.
You made it better.
Katie, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Kiaxet. That's KIAXET. I'm also on Snapchat at Kia Prime. All of my shows are coming back. Arrow is later on tonight. Stay tuned for that. And if you are at PAX South at the end of the month, I will be there competing in the Omegathon. Come say hi.
Megan.
You guys can tweet me at the Mengua, that's TheMenguin, in my incredible sinking chair. I've also done a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I write articles for That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out.
And I'm Emma Fyffe. You can follow me all over the internet at Emma Fyffe. It's my name. You can see me on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzzTV.com. I've got Face Off later tonight, Agent Carter, Bob's Burgers, Steven Universe, a whole bunch of them. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know all about them. I also write articles for Legion of Leia, one run by the wonderful Jenna Bush, who's nice enough to let me write stuff for her. And if you're going to be at Anime Los Angeles at the end of the month, I will be doing a panel there on Friday, January 29th, with my Sailor Moon podcast, which is called Love and Justice. So you should totally come check it out if you're in the Inland Empire, because that's at the Ontario Convention Center. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Thanks to everybody in the chat, in the hashtag. Remember, you can keep using that hashtag ABTV Rebels to talk to us throughout the week, and we will see you guys all back here next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.